Hello and greetings to all. Slight change of wardrobe since it got a little chilly here in my makeshift recording studio. I will now discuss what divine femininity means in this certain particular context. Now, for the most part, most indigenous cultures worldwide, especially here in the Americas, where we're more inclined toward the divine feminine. A lot of societies were matriarchal, which means that the female was the one with the cojones. Um, a lot of them are matriarchal as far as the lines go. Nowadays we get our father's last name. There's a lot of cultural traits that we take from our father. Especially as males, we sometimes have that overbearance of having to live up to the last name, having to live up to the legacy of our fathers and whatnot. Not that a lot of us strive or endeavor to do so, but that's pretty much the case oftentimes. It was totally different with indigenous cultures. I'm currently reading a certain book that discusses the history of witchcraft. This is not related to witchcraft or any spiritual practice, but I did want to learn more or less the deal with how what witchcraft has stood for in collective history. This is more in the European origins, but of course I'm from Anahuac and I already have a lot of the perspective of Anahuac. And next I want to learn about maybe Pacific Islander, maybe New Zealander, maybe African. More or less their concept. Because let's get something straight. Let us depart from the concept of Christian demonization of everything that is not in accord with the Christian worldview, which is witchcraft. Anytime we hear witchcraft, and there's a lot of people who still cling on to that bad rap. There's still people who still try to do hexes and love spells and whatnot. This has nothing to do with it. The persecution of a lot of witches was due to the fact that they were displaying certain aptitudes, such as in the world of healing, of medicinal, medicinal plants, remedies and massages and stuff, which to the mainstream, aka the church, was a bit bizarre. Again, because it was a very patriarchal system. A medical doctor had to be in adherence to certain precepts by the church. Much like medical doctors have to form liaisons with governmental agencies and pharmaceutical companies. That was the same case before, where medical doctors had to pretty much work with the church. That's why we have a lot of illnesses that were attributed to evil spirits, and a lot of practices that were bizarre in nature, because they believed that doing certain things and curing the spirit would deliver a person medically. And witches were women first and foremost. A lot of men's too, because a lot of men were also hanged and burned. Warlocks, sorcerers, wizards, whatever you want to call them. But it was mainly a woman practice. So how do you have a woman who is actually curing people and showing almost supernatural abilities that is really not abiding to certain precepts that the church has already established? We're not going to have it. And there was also a lot of these people who were referred to as heretics. Heretics were people who challenged the church and whatnot. If you find a spiritual practice that serves you, that helps you, and in doing so you can serve and help other people without getting that big bucks that the church was getting, you're going to do it. But guess what? You're taking money and attention and focal point from the church. So guess what? You're a witch that's going to burn at the stake. And in this book, I'll link the name of the book below. It does state that one of the earliest mentions of spirituality in the collective history of mankind has been female deities. There's a variance on how you pronounce it. I like deities, but a lot of people are saying it's deities. So if once you are dedicated to agriculture, to being more sedentary, and you form a relationship to the earth, to the fact that you contribute much to the earth, and in return the earth contributes to feed you, to clothe you, to heal you, then at that point you start seeing her as a mother that nurtures. It makes sense, what I'm saying? Our mothers nurture us, not to say that fathers don't, but it makes sense to hold the first spiritual figure personified as a woman in the likes of Mother Earth. Um, so that's how it was. Worldwide. There's mother goddesses. You know, Pachamama in South America, Tonantzin here. You know, in Mesoamerica. Anahuac, who is now being usurped. that post is being usurped, taken over by the Virgin of Guadalupe, Marian apparitions and whatnot. And elsewhere, look up mother goddesses and fertility goddesses, love goddesses, a lot of very strong feminine presence. Then you come, at odds with the patriarchy, which is more centered around masculinity, rationality, and just, mindlessly ransacking the earth and her resources for the sake of greed and fattening your pockets. So that's pretty much, we're getting closer to explaining what the term of divine femininity refers to as far as this context. So I like to leave my videos short and sweet along the 6 or 7 minute mark. So I will continue the discussion further, as well as return it to Huitzilopochtli and the tale of this very important character in Mexica / Anahuac cosmology. Thank you for watching and stay tuned.